The emergency sirens wailed across the research base as Alina clutched the translucent data tablet to her chest. Outside her laboratory window, Coalition Marines rushed into defensive positions, their exo-armor glinting under Proxima Centauri's reddish light. "Dr. Frost, you need to evacuate immediately." Commander Reeves' voice crackled through the intercom. "Council dropships have breached our upper atmosphere. ETA 3 minutes. Alina ignored him, her attention fixed on the pulsing symbols scrolling across her tablet. The translation algorithm was finally making sense of the architectural geometries within the ruins. It wasn't a temple or a research facility, as they had initially thought. "It's a vault," she whispered, fingers tracing the alien script. "A quarantine vault." Her assistant, Dr. Sato, looked up from his station. "Quarantine. For biological weapons." "No. For knowledge." Alina's eyes widened as new translations emerged. The architects believed certain discoveries were too dangerous to preserve, but they couldn't bring themselves to destroy them entirely. The building shuddered as perimeter defenses engaged overhead. Through the reinforced windows, Alina watched energy shields flicker to life around the excavation site, the ruined spires now bathed in protective blue light. "They thought they were being merciful," she continued, moving to the central holographic display. "Preserving their greatest advancements for future species who might be worthy. But they never expected humans to find it." Sato's face paled as the translated text revealed itself. These warning symbols, they're not just cautioning against intrusion. They're describing what happened to the architects themselves. Alina nodded grimly. Their civilization fragmented. Those who embraced this knowledge evolved into something beyond physical form. Those who rejected it were left behind. The facility rocked violently as the first council bombardment struck the outer shields. Dust rained from the ceiling as emergency lighting flashed on. "We need to go now," Reeves shouted, bursting through the laboratory doors with a squad of Marines. "The council aren't just sending ground forces. That's a Thanix-class destroyer up there." Alina stood her ground. "We can't leave. Don't you understand what we found? The council isn't trying to claim this discovery. They're trying to bury it again. With all due respect, Doctor, they're about to bury us with it. Let me show you something." Alina moved to the sealed chamber where the first artifact had been stored. Inside the containment field, a crystalline fragment pulsed with internal light, its facets shifting in impossible geometries. "Since we extracted this from the central chamber, it's been changing." She pressed her palm against the containment field. "It's responding to human brainwave patterns, specifically to mine." Reeves stepped closer despite himself. "What does that mean?" "It means the vault doesn't just contain knowledge. It contains a test." Alina's eyes reflected the pulsing light of the crystal. The architects created filters, species-specific barriers. Information that causes insanity in one species might be perfectly comprehensible to another. The entire room shuddered as another bombardment hit closer. "The council species have found vaults like this before," Alina continued, "and they failed the tests. Their minds couldn't adapt." As if responding to her words, the crystal's pulsing intensified. Thin tendrils of light extended toward Alina's hand, pressing against the containment field. "But humans..." She took a deep breath and disabled the containment protocols. "Our minds are different. Contradictory. Fragmented. We hold opposing thoughts simultaneously. We create meaning from chaos." "Doctor, don't." Reeves lunged forward too late. The crystal's light enveloped Alina's hand, then shot up her arm in luminous networks that mirrored her nervous system. She gasped, her eyes widening as information flooded her consciousness. "I can see it," she whispered as the light spread across her face. "I can see everything they were, everything they became." Outside, the Coalition defense grid suddenly pulsed with the same light coursing through Alina's veins. The Council bombardment abruptly ceased as their targeting systems went offline simultaneously. Alina turned to the stunned personnel, her eyes now shimmering with ancient knowledge. "The test has begun," she said calmly. and humanity has been accepted. The Coalition quarantine chamber was a gleaming titanium box within a box, designed to contain biohazards that could wipe out continents. Today, it contained only Alina, slumped in a medical chair as neurologists monitored her transformed brain activity. "Theta waves off the charts," murmured Dr. Kessler, the lead neurologist. "And these patterns here, I've never seen anything like them." Behind the observation glass, Commander Reeves watched with Admiral Joe, who had arrived from Earth after the Council fleet's unexpected retreat. "She predicted their exact attack vectors," Reeves said quietly. "Not just predicted, countered them with our own systems in ways our engineers say shouldn't be possible." Zhao's weathered face remained impassive. "And now, she writes constantly. Equations, schematics, what look like molecular structures. We've filled 3 data cores with her output in the last 48 hours. Inside the chamber, Alina suddenly convulsed, her back arching as her eyes snapped open, now glowing with the same blue light as the ruins. "They're coming back," she gasped. "Not just a strike force, a purification fleet." Kessler rushed to stabilize her, but Alina gripped his wrist with surprising strength. "They think we're contaminated," she continued, her voice overlaid with harmonic tones. "They're right." Captain Varys Keetle of the Council Special Tactics Unit moved silently through the ventilation system of the human orbital station Sentinel-6. His crystalline skin had shifted to match the metallic interior, rendering him nearly invisible. His mission was simple: retrieve intelligence on the human female who had interfaced with architect technology, then eliminate her if possible. The Council elders were clear: no species had ever successfully integrated with an archive. The humans must have cheated somehow, and the knowledge must be destroyed before it spread. Dropping into a dimly lit corridor, Varys disabled 2 human guards with mural suppressors before accessing a data terminal. As he expected, human security was primitive. Within minutes, he had downloaded classified files on Project Awakening. The terminal suddenly flashed, its screen filling with an image of a human female, the subject Alina Frost. She stared directly at him as if seeing through the camera. "I've been waiting for you, Captain Keetle," she said. Varys froze. This wasn't a recording. "Your commanders haven't told you the whole truth," Alina continued. "This isn't the first archive your people discovered. It's the 17th. What happened to the other species who found them?" Varys remained silent, but his crystalline structure flickered involuntarily. "They went mad," Alina answered for him. "Their minds fractured. Their civilizations collapsed. That's why your people fear us now, not because we accessed the knowledge, but because we're still sane." Alarms blared as security teams converged on his position. Varys prepared his extraction plan. "You won't make it off this station," Alina said calmly. "But I'm going to let you go anyway, with a message for your elders. The Architect's prison is failing. The corrupted ones sense us accessing the knowledge. If you destroy us, no one will stand between them and this galaxy." The screen went dark as Varys felt a strange sensation. Teleportation without technology. Somehow he was suddenly outside the station, floating near his cloaked shuttle. His communication crystal activated automatically. "Report status," came the elder's voice. Varys hesitated, his soldier's duty warring with what he'd just witnessed. "The humans have gone beyond initial integration," he said finally. "They're not just accessing the archive. They're implementing it. And," he paused, crystalline skin rippling with uncertainty, "I believe they're telling the truth about the architects." The silence that followed told him everything. The elders had known all along. "Return immediately," the voice finally replied. "Purification has been authorized." As his shuttle accelerated away, Varys watched 12 Council dreadnoughts emerge from hyperspace, their planet-killer weapons priming. What the Council didn't see was the faint shimmer spreading through space behind them, reality itself bending as something ancient stirred, drawn by the awakening knowledge. The observation deck of the Coalition flagship, Resilient shuddered as another volley of Council weapons fire dissipated against the newly formed defensive barrier. Engineers and tactical officers stared in disbelief at their displays, trying to comprehend what their instruments were telling them. "It's not reflecting the energy," Lieutenant Commander Park said, eyes wide. "It's converting it, absorbing the attacks and repurposing the energy." Admiral Joe turned to Alina, who stood unnaturally still at the center of the command platform. Thin filaments of blue light traced patterns beneath her skin, pulsing in rhythm with the ship's new defenses. "This technology wasn't in any of the schematics you provided," Joe said carefully. "Because I didn't understand it until now," Alina replied, her voice resonating strangely, as if speaking from multiple locations simultaneously. "The archive doesn't contain blueprints or formulas as we understand them. It contains potentialities, quantum certainties that unfold when properly observed." On the main view screen, a Council dreadnought fired its main planet killer weapon, a stream of accelerated exotic particles designed to unravel matter at the subatomic level. As it approached the Resilient, the beam curved impossibly, folding back on itself like a snake eating its tail, before dissipating into a shower of harmless light. "They're retreating," Park announced, checking his instruments. "All Council vessels are disengaging and establishing new positions at the edge of the system." A sudden commotion erupted at the medical station where wounded personnel were being treated. A Marine who had been critically injured, her torso nearly severed by shrapnel, was sitting upright, the horrific wound visibly knitting itself together as the medical team watched in shock. "It's not just me," Alina said, turning to observe. "Everyone who was exposed to the archive's initial activation is changing. The knowledge is spreading." Zhao's comm unit chimed with an emergency signal from Earth Command. The Admiral's face darkened as he listened to the transmission. "They're reporting similar phenomena across all human-controlled planets," he said. "Civilians with no direct exposure to the archive are exhibiting abilities." A dock worker on Mars lifted a fallen support beam that would require industrial equipment. A teacher in New Jakarta is apparently perceiving events before they happen. Alina nodded as if this was expected. The archive isn't just knowledge. It's a key to unlocking human potential that evolution would have eventually provided naturally. Naturally. Joe's voice sharpened. "There's nothing natural about this, Doctor. That depends on your definition of natural." Alina gestured, and a three-dimensional model of human DNA appeared in the air before them, rotating slowly before expanding to show quantum-level structures beneath the molecular chains. The architects discovered that consciousness itself is a fundamental force of the universe, capable of directing matter and energy when properly harnessed. The DNA model transformed, showing new connections forming between previously dormant segments. "Humans have always had this potential. Our minds evolved to process contradictions, to imagine the impossible before making it real. The archive is simply accelerating the process." An alert sounded as communications officers detected a galaxy-wide transmission from the Council fleet. "They're broadcasting in all known languages," Park reported. "It's a quarantine declaration. They're declaring the human species corrupted and ordering all Council members to terminate contact." Alina's expression remained eerily calm as she raised her hand, causing the holographic DNA model to expand further, revealing structures that shouldn't be visible with current technology. "They fear what they don't understand," she said. "But understanding is precisely what humanity does best." The ship's sensors suddenly detected massive energy signatures as Council reinforcements arrived. Hundreds of vessels forming a blockade around the human-controlled sector of space. "We can't fight that many," Zhao said grimly. "We won't have to." Alina closed her eyes as the blue light beneath her skin intensified. The next stage is beginning. The secure bunker beneath New Geneva hummed with tension as the Coalition Security Council faced off against General Vega, whose forces had surrounded the facility. "I'm not asking again," Vega said, his voice steady despite the strain visible on his face. "Terminate the Frost Protocol immediately. The changes spreading through the population must be contained before we lose what makes us human. Council Chair Nyack stood her ground. Your own soldiers are refusing your orders, General. They've experienced the knowledge transfer. They understand what's at stake. Outside, Vega's elite units waited in formation, their weapons trained on the bunker entrance, but many displayed the telltale shimmer of blue light beneath their skin, the sign of archive integration. You've already lost, Vega said bitterly. I intercepted Frost's transmission 2 hours ago. Half our population has been exposed. The facility's quantum communications array suddenly activated without authorization. Alina's face appeared on every screen simultaneously, though satellite tracking placed her physical body on the far side of the planet. General Vega is correct about one thing, she said, her image perfectly clear despite the distance. I have transmitted aspects of the archive globally, but not as a weapon, as a shield. In Lagos, 16-year-old Adora Okafor stared at the complex equations streaming through her mind after waking from dreams filled with impossible machines. Her fingers moved instinctively, arranging household items into a pattern that made no logical sense until electricity began arsing between them, coalescing into a pulsing sphere of energy. Her mother entered the room and gasped. What have you done? It's a quantum field stabilizer, Adora said, surprised at the words coming from her mouth. It can create room temperature superconductivity. Her phone buzzed with messages from classmates across the city reporting similar experiences, knowledge appearing fully formed in their minds, technical insights they couldn't possibly have known. Aboard the Resilient, Admiral Zhu monitored reports flooding in from across human space. It's happening everywhere, Park reported. Spontaneous manifestations of advanced knowledge, technological breakthroughs, even physical enhancements. And they're all somehow networking. A proximity alert sounded as sensors detected a Council stealth vessel approaching Earth. Before Zhou could order defensive measures, the ship's cloaking field failed catastrophically, its systems going haywire. That wasn't us, Park said, checking tactical displays. On a live feed from Earth's orbit, they watched as the Council ship was surrounded by a swarm of small maintenance drones, civilian satellites, and space debris, all moving with impossible coordination to form a containment barrier. The orbital control networks have been enhanced. Alina's voice came through the comm system. Earth's existing infrastructure is adapting to integrate with the archive's knowledge. Zhao's tactical officer interrupted with an urgent report. Sir, we're detecting Council attack formations approaching all major human colonies simultaneously. Mass deployment of biological weapons designed to target neural tissue. Alina's expression darkened. They're targeting the changes to our brains. They believe they can stop the spread by eliminating those already transformed. She paused, clearly receiving information through channels they couldn't perceive. They're too late. The network is established. The view screen shifted to show a visualization of human-controlled space, thin blue lines connecting planets, stations, and vessels in an intricate web of communication that bypassed conventional channels. This is how we survive what comes next, Alina said. Not as individuals, but as a connected humanity. The Council believes we've become something monstrous, but they don't understand what we're becoming. And what exactly is that? Zhao demanded. The blue light beneath Alina's skin pulsed once, brightening until her human features were almost obscured. The Architect's worthy successors, she replied, and the galaxy's only hope against what they fail to contain. Across human space, billions of minds stirred with fragments of ancient knowledge, pieces of a puzzle only humanity's collective consciousness could assemble. The Council hunter-killer Void Shadow moved through the debris field surrounding the destroyed human colony on Proxima, its adaptive hull absorbing all sensor emissions. Commander Azoth, the vessel's Sith captain, extended crystalline, sensory filaments through the ship's specialized ports, tasting the void for traces of their quarry. Remnant human technology detected. Azoth communicated to the elite pursuit team. Recent activation signatures. Subject Frost was here within the last 30 hours. The team, composed of the deadliest specialists from 6 council species, prepared their weapons without speaking. They had witnessed firsthand the impossible capabilities of transformed humans. 3 previous hunter teams had failed to return from their missions. Azoth's crystalline body pulsed with uncharacteristic agitation. The High Council has withheld critical information regarding the archive fragments. I have accessed restricted historical records. The team's Vreshian assassin, Kal, clicked his mandibles in surprise. That's heresy, Commander. Heresy is preferable to extinction. Azoth extended a memory crystal. The Architect's ruins we've been taught to fear and quarantine. They are not ruins at all. They are prisons. 17 have been discovered across the galaxy. 17 species attempted to access their contents. The ship's sensors suddenly detected a quantum fluctuation, then another, forming a pattern that expanded geometrically across the debris field. Prepare for immediate. Azoth began, but stopped as a human female materialized directly on the command deck, her form shifting between solid matter and translucent energy. None of the team's weapons activated. Their neural interfaces had been seamlessly disconnected. Commander Azoth, Alina acknowledged calmly. I've been expecting you. On Earth, chaos reigned in the aftermath of the Council's biological attack. Millions lay dead, their transformed neural patterns targeted by engineered pathogens. Yet in hospital wards across the planet, something unprecedented was occurring. Dr. Ayers watched in fascination and horror as his deceased patients began to transform. Their bodies reconstructed themselves at the cellular level, but not into their original human forms. Organs rearranged, neural pathways multiplied, skin composition altered to include structures capable of energy manipulation. They're adapting, he whispered into his recorder. The archived knowledge within them is rewriting their biology to counter the Council's weapon. Through the window, he could see similar transformations occurring in the mass graves hastily dug outside the hospital. Bodies stirring, rising, their forms now radiating soft blue light. His enhanced colleague, Dr. Chen, entered the ward, her eyes luminous with archive integration. It's happening everywhere. The attack accelerated the process instead of stopping it. What process? Ayers asked. Evolution, she answered simply. Aboard the Void Shadow, Alina moved among the paralyzed Council hunters, studying each with curious detachment. Your species' minds are so linear, she said to Azoth, each thought following neatly from the last. Humans think in spirals, contradictions, and quantum superpositions. That's why we can integrate the archive without fracturing. She paused before the memory crystal Azoth had displayed. You've discovered part of the truth. The architects fragmented during their ascension. Those who sought peace created the archives as evolutionary catalysts, hoping worthy species would one day continue their work. And the others? Azoth managed to ask, fighting against the neural paralysis. Alina's expression darkened. The corrupted ones were imprisoned in a dimension beyond conventional spacetime. But the barriers are weakening. They sensed the archives being awakened. She waved her hand, and the ship's view screens activated, showing astronomical data from multiple sectors. Impossible gravitational anomalies, stars blinking out of existence momentarily, space itself developing fracture patterns. This is why I've been gathering the archive fragments, Alina said. Not as a weapon against the Council, but as a key to reinforcing the dimensional prison before the corrupted ones fully emerge. Azoth's crystalline form vibrated with ancient racial memory. The Sith have legends of entities that could reshape reality. We called them the Devourers of Light. An apt name. Alina nodded. Your Council has 2 choices, Commander. Continue hunting us while the true threat grows, or join humanity in preparing for what comes next. A tremor ran through the ship as reality itself briefly distorted around them. A ripple effect from something massive moving just beyond the veil of normal space. They're getting closer, Alina whispered. Admiral Zhou stared at the tactical display in the emergency command center beneath the Himalayan mountains, Earth's orbital defenses were failing systematically as the Council's final offensive overwhelmed them through sheer numbers. 300 dreadnoughts, thousands of support vessels, the combined might of 17 advanced civilizations, determined to exterminate humanity before the corrupted architects could fully manifest. Evacuation transports are at 30% capacity, reported his XO, her voice steady despite the chaos. Colony worlds Tav Ceti and Trappist are already under bombardment. Zhou turned to the representatives of Earth's enhanced population, 12 individuals whose neural patterns showed the highest integration with the archive. They stood in a semicircle, eyes closed, blue light pulsing beneath their skin in synchronized patterns. "Can you stop this?" Zhao demanded. "Billions will die if those ships break through." The spokesperson, a former quantum physicist named Dr. Rivera, opened luminous eyes. "Conventional defense is futile. We must implement Protocol Ascension immediately." Alina's consciousness network. Zhao shook his head. "Half our military leadership opposes it. They believe we'd lose our humanity." "We'll lose far more if we fail," Rivera replied. "The corrupted architects have already breached the first dimensional barrier. The distortions at the edge of our solar system aren't Council weapons. They're space-time fractures." On cue, the tactical display flickered as sensors detected massive energy spikes beyond Neptune's orbit. Something was emerging from the distortions, a construct of impossible geometries that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "The first corrupted architect," Rivera whispered. "It's here." In near-Earth orbit, the Council flagship Eternal Justice powered its primary planet-killer weapon. High Elder Vox, Supreme Commander of the Coalition forces, received the targeting solution with grim satisfaction. "Commence final sterilization," he ordered. "May the universe forgive our necessity." The weapons officer initiated the firing sequence, then froze as the ship's systems responded with an unfamiliar error. Dimensional interference, DETCTED. On the main view screen, space itself seemed to fold between the Council fleet and Earth. A being materialized, neither human nor machine, but a perfect mathematical structure of energy and matter in constant flux. Where a face might be, there were only recursive patterns of increasing complexity. Primitive entities, the corrupted architect communicated directly into the minds of every being in the fleet. "Your quarantine protocols are irrelevant. The knowledge you feared humans would obtain is merely an echo of our perfection." Elder Vox staggered as the entity's consciousness brushed against his own, vastly more powerful than any psychic attack the Council's defenses were designed to repel. "The human integration was predicted," the entity continued. "A necessary catalyst for our return. You have served as excellent caretakers of this reality until we required it." The corrupted architect extended a pseudopod of pure mathematical probability toward Earth, only to encounter unexpected resistance, a network of blue energy connecting millions of human minds. In the Himalayan command center, every screen displayed the same image. Alina Frost, now fully transformed into a being of energy, anchored to physical form only by quantum entanglement. She stood at the exact center of the human network, channeling its collective consciousness. "Alert all enhanced individuals," she commanded. "Full network activation. Every mind, every perspective, every contradiction and paradox that makes us human. Connect them now." Around the planet, billions of minds snapped into sudden awareness of each other, not losing individuality, but gaining a collective perspective that transcended conventional consciousness. The sensation rippled through transformed colonies, ships, and stations across human space. The corrupted architect paused its advance, confronted with something it hadn't encountered in eons of existence: unpredictability. "You are nothing," it communicated, probing the human network. "Merely evolved proteins, temporary arrangements of carbon." Alina's energy form pulsed brighter. "We are contradiction embodied," she responded, her voice now carrying the harmonic overtones of billions. "Rational yet emotional. Individual yet collective. temporary yet eternal through our creations and ideas. For the first time in its existence, the corrupted architect experienced confusion. "The network is holding," Rivera reported, eyes wide with wonder. "Humanity stands unified against perfection, and perfection blinks." The corrupted architect's attack came as a wave of altered reality. Fundamental constants changing in expanding spheres that reduced council ships and human defenses alike to their constituent particles. Physics itself became a weapon wielded with precision, accumulated over eons of existence beyond conventional spacetime. Yet where the wave touched the human network, it encountered resistance. Billions of minds, each processing reality slightly differently, created a quantum uncertainty field that the architect's perfect equations couldn't resolve. Alina, at the center of the network, channeled this collective perception into a counterattack, not with energy or matter, but with conceptual frameworks that the corrupted architect had abandoned during its pursuit of perfection. "Observe," she communicated through the network. Its attacks follow predictable patterns. Perfect, yes, but without innovation. Through the collective consciousness, humans across the solar system witnessed the battle occurring simultaneously at quantum and cosmic scales, a contest between cold mathematical certainty and messy creative adaptation. "It can't comprehend our art," realized a concert pianist in Kenya, her mind now part of the network. "Or our music, our contradictory emotions. It calculates every possibility," added a chess grandmaster from Argentina, "but can't understand why we sometimes choose the suboptimal move." Their insights rippled through the network, strengthening Alina's strategy. The human collective began projecting concepts the corrupted architect had purged from its consciousness. Beauty without function, sacrifice without logical benefit, love without quantifiable return. For the first time in countless millennia, the entity experienced confusion. Aboard the Void Shadow, Commander Azoth and his team watched in awe as the human network forced the corrupted architect to retreat from Earth. The entity's perfect structure showed fractal imperfections where human unpredictability had disturbed its equations. "Impossible," whispered Call, the Freshen assassin. "Nothing can stand against a devourer of light." "Not nothing," Azoth replied, crystalline form resonating with ancient memory. 17 species failed the archive's test because their minds were too ordered, too logical. Humans succeeded because they embraced paradox. The ship's sensors detected new dimensional fractures forming throughout the solar system, more corrupted architects responding to the first entity's distress. "They're coming," Azoth said, "and the humans cannot stand alone." He made his decision, activating a direct channel to the Sith High Command, bypassing Council protocols. "This is Commander Azoth of the Void Shadow. I am invoking Ancient Directive 7. His second-in-command recoiled in shock. "Commander, that directive hasn't been activated since." "Since the first emergence, yes." Azoth's crystalline form pulsed with determination. "The Sith remember what other species forgot. We faced the Devourers before. We failed alone. Perhaps with the humans, we might succeed." Alina felt the dimensional barriers weakening across multiple sectors as her consciousness expanded beyond human limitations. Through the archive's knowledge, she perceived reality as the architects once had. Not as solid matter, but as information patterns that could be rewritten. "The network is at maximum capacity," she communicated to the collective. "But it won't be enough against multiple entities. We need more perspectives, more contradictions." Admiral Zhao, still linked to military communications despite the network integration, received an unexpected transmission. A Sith battle group had broken from the Council fleet and was requesting collaboration against the corrupted architects. "Can we trust them?" Zhao asked through the network. Alina's energy form pulsed with certainty. "The Sith remember. Their crystalline biology stores racial memory across generations. They know what we face." As more dimensional fractures appeared, Alina implemented the archive's most dangerous protocol, temporarily opening human consciousness to non-human perspectives. The network shuddered as Sith minds began tentatively joining, their ordered crystalline thought patterns initially clashing with human chaos before finding unexpected harmonies. "This is unprecedented," gasped a Sith elder as their consciousness merged with the human network. "Your species contains such beautiful disorder." The corrupted architect, recovering from its initial confusion, launched another attack, only to encounter even greater resistance as Sith precision complemented human creativity. The prison dimension, Elena communicated urgently to the expanded network. "The archive contains the key to reinforcing it, but the implementation requires perspectives from multiple species. This is what the peaceful architects intended: cooperation instead of purity." As humans and Sith joined their consciousness more deeply, the archive's final knowledge unfurled like a multidimensional blueprint, a means to repair reality itself. The Himalayan command center had transformed beyond recognition. What began as a military installation was now a nexus point where reality itself seemed malleable. The combined human-Sith consciousness network had attracted other defectors from the Council: Vresians, Tellurians, and even a few Myerkath. Their disparate biologies united through Elena's implementation of archive protocols. Admiral Joe stood at the edge of the phenomenon, still maintaining his individuality while connected to the network. The choice before humanity was stark: forgiveness or retribution. "They killed billions of us," argued General Vega through the network. His consciousness blazed with righteous fury, a sentiment echoed by millions of humans who had lost loved ones to Council attacks. "We should use this power to ensure they never threaten us again, and become what the corrupted architects became," countered Dr. Rivera. "Remember what the archive showed us. Their pursuit of dominance is what fractured their civilization." Outside Earth's atmosphere, reality continued to tear as more corrupted architects reached the weakening dimensional barriers. Their perfect mathematical forms now showed adaptations. They were learning from their encounter with human unpredictability, evolving their attack strategies. Elena, her form now almost entirely energy, with only the suggestion of human features, expanded her consciousness through the network to address all connected minds simultaneously. "The final archive protocol requires a genuine choice," she communicated. "Not just cooperation under duress, but willing unity in diversity. The prison dimension that contains the corrupted architects must be reinforced by a harmonized consciousness that embraces both order and chaos." She projected the archive's complete design into the collective awareness, a metaphysical structure that could only be implemented by beings who had genuinely transcended their differences. Commander Azov, whose crystalline consciousness now formed a structural framework within the network, responded with shock. "This requires forgiveness beyond rational calculation. You ask us to dissolve eons of separation." "Not dissolve," Elena corrected. "Transcend. Maintain your uniqueness while embracing connection." The debate rippled through the expanded network as the corrupted architects launched increasingly sophisticated attacks against Earth's defenses. Several outposts in the outer system had already fallen, reality itself unraveling around them. In orbit, the Council's Supreme Elder Vox watched his fleet disintegrating as physics broke down around them. His ship's sensors detected the impossible: species that had been mortal enemies for millennia joining together in a consciousness framework centered on Earth. "Madness," he whispered. "They'll destroy everything we've built." His communication officer turned toward him, eyes reflecting newfound awareness. "Elder, the human network is broadcasting an invitation to you personally." Vox hesitated, his 17 tendrils curling in ancestral warning postures. His species had been the first to discover an archive after the architect's disappearance. They had been the first to lose minds to its corrupting influence. His ancestors had established the Council specifically to prevent any species from following the architect's dangerous path. And now, humans had succeeded where all others failed. As another dimensional breach formed dangerously close to his vessel, Vox made his decision. Open a channel. At the nexus point, Elena felt the critical moment approaching. The expanded network had stabilized, incorporating perspectives from 7 different species, but it wasn't enough. The prison dimension required a genuine unity that transcended biological and cultural differences. The key was never knowledge itself, she realized, the insight flowing through the collective. It was how we use it. The architect's forbidden knowledge isn't a weapon, it's a test of worthiness. The network consciousness expanded further as more council species hesitantly joined. First hundreds, then thousands of minds linking to the human framework. In the space between heartbeats, a perfect moment of understanding rippled through the collective, each species maintaining its unique perspective while glimpsing reality through others' perceptions. The dimensional tiers paused in their expansion as the corrupted architects sensed something unprecedented forming, a unified consciousness that preserved diversity rather than eliminating it. Now, Alina commanded, her energy form pulsing with the combined will of billions across multiple species. Together, the archive's final protocol activated as the network implemented reality adjustments at the quantum level, not destroying the corrupted architects, but reinforcing the boundaries of their prison dimension with a framework built from unified consciousness. As the dimensional breaches began to seal, the lead corrupted architect communicated one final message: "You have chosen incorrectly. Perfect unity requires perfect uniformity." Alina's response, carrying the harmonic overtones of multiple species thinking as one while remaining many, resonated through the closing breach. "That was always your mistake."